Welcome back, my podcast friends. And today we have another interview of someone that I really think you're going to learn a lot from. In my last interview, I interviewed a 76-year-old woman who was getting ready to be put on diabetic meds, getting ready to be put on statins, on cholesterol meds, and blood pressure meds. And after we talked, and after she read my book, she changed everything, and her labs came back great. She's not put on any medications, and she's continuing to go in a healthy lifestyle. So today I wanted to bring in somebody on the other end of the spectrum. And today we're going to have Jason Bekebrede. Jason, thank you so much for
Yeah,
joining me
thanks for having
today.
me.
Now, he's only 46 years old. But he basically did the exact same thing, where he was noticing going in the doctor. And I'm assuming, Jason, did you go in the doctor and he was already starting to recommend you being on medications?
We had done some blood work and the cholesterol panel, and the it had came in elevated on everything, and so he started talking about meds, and I hate being on meds at all, and it's one, so it really triggered my mind. I got to figure out something to not get on meds, and I'd read your book already, and then me and our mutual friend had grabbed a beer, and we kind of talked more about you and I did about your book, about all of this stuff, and it really spurred me into action on it. Before I'd read it, I kind of knew I should do this, but I didn't really go deep into it until I got that as the catalyst to get me going.
Right. Now tell everybody just a little bit about yourself, who you are and everything, because Jason, in all honesty, Jason's labs, and we'll go through his labs in just a little bit, but even his pre-labs weren't bad. They really weren't that bad. However, they were already starting to get in this conversation with a physician about medications. And remember, all medications have adverse effects. They try to fix one symptom, that's all it is symptomatic relief. If you're on cholesterol meds, blood pressure meds, cardiac meds, any of these, it's symptomatic relief, because they can't tell you anything about the underlying cause, which is nutrition, because physicians do not get nutrition in school, and afterwards all they get is stuff that are fed to them from the drug companies. Drug companies do the studies, drug companies pay everybody to look at their studies. It's a whole mess. But that's why I thought this is important to say, you don't have to be horrible to change. If you just notice you're going the wrong way, you can turn your stuff around. So Jason, I'm sorry, I keep talking.
Oh no, it's yeah. As
So,
you said, I'm 46, and I'd always been in decent shape in my life, and back probably whenever we started having kids, or actually before my wife and I had kids. We've been married 15 years now. I kind of stopped going to the gym as much. My wife's a real good cook, so I started eating a lot worse, or eating a lot more. And it was one I'd just slowly gained a little weight. I got up to about, I think last year, or the year I'd started 2022, then that fall I got up to 190, 195, and I'm not a tall person. So
how tall are you?
I 5'7".
Okay.
So it's definitely don't wear it well at 195. But then had read your book after our friend had recommended it, and seen the results he had, and I just then had got the cholesterol panel, and just kind of, like I mentioned earlier, just that kind of pushed me into doing that. I wanted to get back into shape, or I'd always been doing CrossFit, but I just never had the results I really wanted from that, and I knew it had to be diet. So whenever I went down that road, it definitely accelerated that, and as the results started to come better, it motivated me more and more to push even harder at the gym, or in being stringent about eating and all that stuff.
Yeah, see, that's wonderful. And that's the other thing I'm really want to get through to people. You do exercise is extremely important. I love it. I do it. I work out anywhere from 3 to 6 times a week for only like 30, 40 minutes a time. I truly believe in it. However, if you are first trying to get off meds, if you are extremely obese, do not even worry about exercise. Walking, everybody needs to walk, and there's a whole reason for that, but that has to do with clearing your body, clearing your lymphatic system of all these toxins out of your body. However, so many people use exercise as an excuse of why they can't lose weight. And that's why I want to let people know also, don't think about exercise. Think about nutrition, because that is really how you're going to get the fat off. That's how you're going to
No, very
nourish
much
your
so.
body. And did you feel like you had more energy? Did you have more clear mind when you started working, when you started working out after you started doing the
Oh
nutrition
yeah.
change?
Yeah, definitely. And it just got easier to move when I would go to the gym. It was doing certain movements. It just that before were always a little more struggled or it was harder to do. I could just do very easily, and it just kind of popped up on me. I'd do toes to bar or pull-ups that it before I could do them, but it wasn't maybe as fast. And now it's like, wow, this was a lot easier than I thought it was.
Yeah, isn't it amazing? Now,
Yep.
just so everybody knows, I was going to let you know, this kind of started back in, well, the first labs I have of Jason's was back in November of 22. And
Yep.
at that time, that's when he weighed around 190, 195 pounds. And at that time, his total cholesterol was 222. His triglycerides actually were only 81, and his HDLs were 50. He did have an LDL of 154, but if you've listened to any of my podcasts or anybody who actually knows anything about nutrition and cholesterol and all that, you'll realize LDLs do not matter, because there are good LDLs, there are bad LDLs. You can be extremely fit, eating extremely healthy, and your LDL level may be up, but you are extremely fit. So that's why we never look at LDLs. So just so you know, Jason, just in this short, what was it, 9 months, basically,
Yep.
in August of 23, he took his total cholesterol down. And again, with these labs, the doctors were already starting to talk about statins, the cholesterol. They were already starting to about maybe did they talk about pre-diabetic meds with you also?
No, we did not talk about that.
Good. Yeah. And I didn't get your A1Cs or your glucose, so I wasn't sure where you were on that. But again, this doesn't matter, because it's statins, all this kind of stuff. Nutrition that's what's going to cure the underlying cause. So this is not symptomatic relief like all these medications are. But in 9 short months, Jason took his total cholesterol from 222 down to 205. Doesn't sound like a whole lot, but you'll see how this plays a big part. His triglycerides went from 81 down to 68. And his HDLs, his good cholesterol, went from 50 up to 64. And just so everybody knows what I'm looking at with this is, again, it's not your LDL level. What you want to look at is your ratios. And his total cholesterol to his HDL, you really want your total cholesterol to your HDL to be around less than 5, and really preferably around 3.5. Jason's initial was 4.44. So he was close to that, but he was still less than 5. So he was still doing well. But on his repeat labs, his total cholesterol over HDLs went from 4.44 down to 3.2, which is fantastic, because that's really where you'd like to have him, is less than 3.5. So that was wonderful. The second one is the triglyceride to your HDLs. And when you look at your triglycerides to your HDLs, you really want this to be less than 2. And the closer to 1-to-1 you are, the much, much better you are. So basically, this means your triglycerides should never be more than twice your HDLs. On Jason's pre-labs back in November 22, his triglycerides over his HDL was 1.62. So it was underneath the 2. So like he said, he was still eating pretty well, but they were already starting to talk to him about, let's get on the medication. Let's start getting you into these, so you can have adverse effects, and then they can add more medications on top of that. And it's a whole drug scheme. However, after only 9 months, his triglyceride and HDL level, remember, it started off 1.62. Now it came down to 1.06, which means, and as you can see, because the triglycerides were 68 and his HDLs were 64, that is fantastic. That's exactly where you want to be. So even in 9 short months, even somebody who really wasn't horribly sick or obese, but they could tell by their labs that if they continued going, the same way, it's going to be getting worse. So again, whether you're 76, 46, 16, if you've got bad labs and you're obese, it's never too late, and it's never too soon to start changing your nutrition. And Jason, I am so proud of you. This was wonderful that you did this. When you look back over what you were eating and what you changed. What was there any major thing like, oh yes, I was really horrible about this, but now I don't do it, or anything like that?
I would probably eat more, or I'd probably drink more juices than what I will now. Like, if I really am craving orange juice or something, I'll have a very, very small little glass of it just to get my fix, but not have a big tall glass. And but just eating more carbs and things like that, I was real bad at, and now I keep it to a very minimum. That if I really want something, or eating out with my kids or something, and they really want me to have something with them, I might have it, but it's pretty rare that I'll have like a waffle or bread or anything like that.
Right, right. Is there anything in particular that you used to eat and now you found out, oh my gosh, that was really horrible, and you've actually just stopped it? He's like, I can't do that anymore.
There's not much. I was usually pretty good about trying to balance it, but I would get heavy into the carbs at times before, just with sweets or
Everything.
different things like exactly, yeah,
It's really weird, isn't it? When you start realizing what nutrition is, because so many people, they just eat because they're hungry. They're eating because
yeah,
they have a craving. They eat because of emotions, whatever, and they don't. We used to really realize that food is nourishment to our body. That's nutrients. That's how we keep this fantastic human body that we have. That's how we keep it going, is giving it all the nutrients, vitamins, minerals, energy source, protein source that it needs. And people have just totally forgot. And it's not their fault. And I'm going to do a whole nother podcast on this. It is not your fault. This is by design. The food companies and drug companies, they want you sick. That's how they
oh
make
yeah,
money. So it really isn't it's by design that you are obese. This isn't people's fault. But it's important to realize that medication is not the way to go. If you start seeing yourself going downhill like this, you've got to think, okay, this is nutrition. This isn't exercise. This isn't water. This is nutrition. I've got to change what I'm eating. And when you do this, you find out when you go out to eat, have you noticed this? When you go out to eat, you're more cognizant of what other people are eating too. And you look
oh
around,
yeah.
oh my gosh, there is carb, 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 carb. They've got French fries, potatoes, rolls, bread, buns. I mean, it's just carb
Oh, the
central
size of
everywhere you go.
portions that we get that are most restaurants you go to, you get a plate that's huge and everybody wants it covered with food.
Uh,
It's like
isn't
you
that,
really need something probably about that big. And
yeah. And actually that's a I hate to use the word diet, but that's a nutrition technique also. If you too tend to eat a lot, is to get a smaller plate, because
yeah,
it's a cognitive thing that you look at this and you see a big plate and food's just a little bit on the plate. There's like, oh, I need more on that plate. But if you get a
yeah,
smaller plate, you need the same amount of food and you feel like you're actually eating more.
yeah,
Have you done any of the things I think we've talked about, like what Teresa and I do now when we go out to restaurants? If I get I used didn't know, have the slightest idea what I was going to eat if I was going to try to eat healthy. And then I heard it somewhere, whatever. Somebody was talking about, why don't you get your hamburgers without a bun? I thought, well, that's a pretty cool idea. So now I can go into any restaurant. I can look at their biggest hamburger, and I just order the hamburger and say no bun. And instead of the fries, I'll get steamed broccoli or some kind of steamed vegetables.
yep,
And otherwise, everything else is fine. You've got, and I always ask for double patty too, because I'm always wanting to get, around 3/4 of a pound to a pound if I can of meat when I eat. But you can have that. You can have the meat. You can have the lettuce. You can have the tomatoes. You might want to stay away from the condiments if you want some,
yeah.
mustard or something on there. But they put so much sugar, especially in ketchup. But everything else is fine. Or going to a Mexican restaurant and you can order like the fajitas and just don't get the shells. But you can
Yep.
sit there and you can eat all the meat, all the steak, all the chicken, all the shrimp, all that you want. And if you want to throw some of the vegetables on there, do it. So you're
Yeah,
not really limiting yourself.
yeah, that's what I typically do. Or just even if it comes with a side of fries, I'll try to get a side of fruit or something, fruit, vegetables, anything with it that's just going to be better for me than the fries. And just if I keep them off the plate, then there's no chance I'll eat them.
Right. Now,
If they're sitting there, I'll snack on one or two.
it's so easy to do. You just do it without even thinking, especially if you're getting in a good conversation with whoever you're eating with. You just kind of go into autopilot and you just kind of reach over there and grab them. It's like,
Yeah.
It's just like having the stuff in your house. Is like, just don't do it. If it's in your house, you're going to eat. You will have weak moments and you're going to eat it. So it's best just don't even keep it. But that brings up another thing people always talk about, because even though, like, I realize now, a lot of people realize now how horribly toxic sugar is. And people with children, they'll change their eating habits, but they don't want to change it for the kids because they feel like they're depriving them of this sweet goodness. And well, all the other kids are having sugary things. My child should have that too. And I'm wanting to get through people's heads. No, that is poison. That's poison, because it really is. It totally tears up your organs. But if you look at it that way, you're not saying, oh, everybody else's kids are eating poison, so I want mine to eat poison so they can interact with them. It's like, no. Be the one. Don't make it some great big thing, but be the one that maybe they can also be the one that can change their friends also. So you've been married 15 years and you've got 2 kids.
Yeah. 11-year-old daughter, 7-year-old son.
Okay. And have they changed anything? Do they
My
see
daughter has my daughter has more than my son. My son's always been a very difficult eater, so it's harder to get him to that. But my wife as well has helped just in trying to. We don't have as many options maybe out there. Or you got to try this. You got to try this. If you don't want to, if we've got something that has bread or carbs on the at dinner that they're going to eat, that it's like, you don't have to eat that. If you don't want to eat that, don't eat it. All you have to eat is the chicken that's on there. You eat the chicken, you eat the veggies. The rest, we don't care if you touch. But my daughter definitely gets into it a lot. She'll definitely more moments of weakness than I think an adult would have, but she thinks about it a lot, and she's talking about it a lot. Just with school, they're doing a nutrition thing right now, and she was talking about that, just what people were planning. They had to do a meal plan and what everybody's wanting to do in their meal plan stuff. And she's like, well, I'm not doing that. I'm doing this. And
I'd be really curious.
Cutting out carbs.
I'd be really curious to see what their meal plan is, because I guarantee, I bet. Have you seen it?
Not yet. She told me about it this morning, actually.
I bet it goes along with the same stupid food pyramid that we have, or the new plate that they've come out with. And this is all designed by the food companies who are trying to get people sick, trying to get people to eat their stuff. And they know that the way you keep people hungry is you give them carb after carb, give them sugar, give them caffeine, give them vegetable and seed oils, and all this stuff, because it keeps them coming back for more.
Yep.
And that's what's bad, is because they're doing the same thing in hospitals. That's why hospital food is so horrible. That's the type of food that got them into the hospital, and yet we continue to give them the same kind of food while they're in there. Same thing they're doing in all the schools. I mean, this is a big push, and it's all for making the food companies more money. It is not about health. And it's obvious. People are like, well, how do you know that? Well, common sense is just take a look around you. Look at how big our kids have gotten. Look at how it's so sad. So I'd be curious to see what their health plan is, what they're teaching these kids.
Yeah, whenever she brings it home, I'll share it with you.
Okay. Now, does she eat meat? Does she like meat?
Yeah. She's actually really good with that. About anything but seafood. She doesn't like seafood, or doesn't think she likes seafood, but I don't think she's tried enough to know. But
right now, not even shrimp.
No, she's her mom doesn't really like seafood either, and her grandpa doesn't. So I think in her mind, she's just already told herself, I'm not going to like this. And no matter if she really likes it or not.
When I was growing up, my mom said that I hated meat. I never ate meat, which is so weird. Now that's basically all we eat is meat. I mean, we went totally carnivore for January. Teresa and I did. We went totally carnivore, which was really neat. One, I feel fantastic. I feel like I think clear, but I wasn't really that bad going into the month. But I did notice that when you eat a lot of meat, you want like a couple choices. And that's why I was thinking about, because of the shrimp. That's what we found, is if we have a steak or hamburger or something like that, then we pair that up with some shrimp or scrambled eggs or even ham.
Yeah.
somewhere you get a couple different textures on the same plate. So you're not just getting bored of eating the same thing.
Oh yeah. Eating hamburger patties would get a little old after a while.
Yeah. And that's what I want people to know too. I mean, shoot, there's all kinds of meat. There's beef, there's pork, there's lamb, there's buffalo, there's eggs, there's scrambled eggs, hard-boiled eggs, deviled eggs, butter. I mean, there's all kinds of Greek yogurt. There's all kinds of good proteins out there. You just have to, and it doesn't take, it's not that hard to start
Yeah.
looking around and seeing. You just have to realize, stay away from the carbohydrates and just be looking over in the meat area.
Yeah.
Or like
And I
I
think
was
I found that I just eat less as well as I started it back early in the year. Or early last year, it was when I wouldn't have those cravings much at all. I could eat something some eggs and some sausage or bacon in the morning, and
yeah.
I might not eat until 7 o'clock that night and never have any feeling that I need to go get something to eat, or I'm hungry, or I need a snack or anything.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't it crazy? Because we were the same way. I mean, because when we started back, back in 2000, and that's when they were telling everybody. And I know that's why everybody gets confused. Like, what do we believe now? They say this and they say this, but
Yeah.
I really had been looking and learning all this stuff. But that's when we were eating 5 to 6 times a day, and it's
Yeah.
like, why are we? And when I ate 5 to 6 times a day, I was starving before my next meal.
Yeah.
I don't, and it wasn't bad. It was just, a small portion of protein, small portion of carb, and then some vegetables. But I was always starving. And now I'll eat once, maybe twice a day. And just like you, I'm never hungry. The reason people get hungry, is because your body needs nutrients. When your body needs nutrients, it's gonna send out the signal for you to eat more. So when you're eating nothing but carbohydrates, and especially man-made ultra-processed food, there is no nutrient value in that at all. The whole thing they're doing is stimulating your nucleus accumbens. They're stimulating your limbic system to make you hungry, make you want more of their food, more carbohydrates, more sugar, more of these horrible vegetable and seed oils. It makes you do that. And again, this is all by design. You can't you've got to just consciously think, no, that is making me hungry, and this will keep me feeling satiated. And it does. We just went, and I don't mean to talk all the time, but just all these things are popping up. Teresa and I just went to a metabolic health summit in Clearwater, Florida. We just got back yesterday, actually, or the day before yesterday. And we drove for 10 to 12 hours, 2 days in a row. And we weren't hungry. We ate in the morning, and then we took off, and we drove for 10 hours. We never got hungry. It made the trip that much faster because you didn't have to stop and eat. You're not sitting there thinking about, oh, what are we going to eat now? What are we going to eat now? And we used to stop to get gas, and we go into the convenient care, or whatever the fast food or the little gas station was, and we'd get a candy bar or chips or some stupid thing. And now that didn't even cross my mind. It's like, no, get gas and get on the way. It saves time, it saves money, and it definitely saves your health.
Oh yeah.
Have you noticed that become more productive?
Yeah. Yeah. I found that same thing, just traveling, just if I'm going to a conference or something like that, I can head out to the airport or driving, whichever. And I don't need to, if it's hours before I'm going to be able to eat, it's not a big deal at all. I'm not needing to run into the store there or stop at a gas station and grab something to tide me over. It's like I can just deal with it, and I'll just drink a little more water just if I start to get any urge, and it'll go away.
Yep. That's exactly how we are. It really makes traveling so much easier. Do you find you're more productive during the day too?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, they really do. They eat their breakfast, and then they're hungry and thinking, oh, what am I going to have for lunch? Well, to get me through to lunch, I'll go buy a snack machine or something, get something out of a machine, and then I have lunch. It's like, oh, I didn't plan very well. I guess I'm going to go to a fast food restaurant or order out or something. And it's just like food is constantly on your mind.
Yeah.
And once
you don't get that after meal tiredness you would typically get, or I used to get, that a lot of times I won't eat breakfast. I'll make it till anywhere between 11 and 1, and then I'll eat something for lunch, usually as high protein as I can get. Barbecue, if I go out to eat, barbecue is always my go to just because I can get just more or less meat.
Right.
They've got some of the sugar in the sauces they'll use, but
Right.
but the majority of it's the meat, and just try to eat that, and then I won't eat again until probably about 7, because it'll be 6:30 or 7 before we have dinner at the house.
Right. See, and I'm the same way. I love barbecue also, and we'll do the same thing. We'll go. I'll just order off the a la carte menu, and so
Yeah.
just get straight meat, and you'll find you can get a pound of meat for cheaper than somebody who's going to get. Teresa did that. We went at one time. This first time I tried it because I'd heard about it before, so I got a pound of meat, and she got, I bet it was maybe 6 ounces of meat at most, 4 to 6 ounces, and then had all the fries, had the bun that it came on, and
Yep.
all that kind of stuff. And that was much more expensive. I'm like, probably $4 or $5 more expensive than my meat. And I got a
Yep.
pound of meat, and it's all healthy. And like I said, there is sugar because they put sugar in all the condiments, again, because they want you addicted. They want to keep
Yep.
this going where you're snacking it. So this is all by design also. But if you really are eating well, but 80-90% of the time, you can afford. And that's where there's a person that we're reading now that talks about, I think he said, you earn your carbs. If you really want a carb, and even sauce on meat would be the carb. Even if you want that, just as long as you've been eating really well that day or that week, it's like, okay, I'm just gonna have this one thing. Don't go crazy with it, but you can. But you really do get a lot more flexibility when your body is healthy, it is nourished, and then you want just a little snack or something.
Well, and I find that even just if the kids they want to go have ice cream or something like that, or I feel like I'm really wanting some sweets for a little bit, I can go in there, I can have that occasionally, but it just can't do it a lot. But I can kind of give into that a little bit and just kind of occasionally, okay, I can have a little bit and then I'm done.
Yeah.
And I'll be good for a long time now.
As long as you don't buy any family size package, because you may be done now, but then I might have a little bit later and a little bit later, and all of a sudden your family size thing is gone.
Yep. Yeah. I try to be good about that.
Yeah. We know.
But that is easy to do.
I know. Especially in our household with peanut M&Ms. My wife's always loved peanut M&Ms, and we learned years ago we do not put that in our house.
No. Yeah, there's several that I like that I try to tell my wife and them, do not buy these because I will eat them.
Yeah.
If they're not here, I can't eat them. If I've got to get in the car and drive there to get them, at least I've got time to think about, do I really want to do this?
Right. Exactly. That's just like when people are trying to stop smoking. That's one of the things they say is you're driving to work and you always keep your cigarettes in your, left shirt pocket. If you just do the one thing of taking them out of your shirt pocket and put them in the glove box, then when you're driving, when you get that trigger, that automatic reflex of, oh, I want a cigarette, and you go to reach for your pocket, now they're not there. So now you've broken that cycle. It's like, okay, now I have to reach over to get it out of the glove box. Do I really want to do that? Gives you that time to start stimulating your prefrontal cortex, your thought process, and you're not just in that habit mode. So definitely, if you are trying to eat healthy, do not have it in your house. Don't do it because you will eat it and you'll eat it.
Well,
all.
I'm keeping those things that are healthy, beef jerky or something like that for snacks, keeping it in that drawer where your snacks would be. Ours are in the pantry and there's baskets right there, just keeping that stuff front and center so I can see that. If I do feel like I need a snack, I open that up, that's right there. So I go to that and then my craving's gone and I'm done.
Yeah. And that's funny. You brought that up about beef jerky too, because that's another thing. Beef jerky is wonderful. Just find it, and it might be hard, but find the ones that don't put the added sugar, all the sugar in it, because there is a lot. And for everybody listening, remember there's 4 grams of sugar in 1 teaspoon. So when you're looking at your package labels, they're always going to tell you how many grams, but that people don't understand, that they can't convert, they can't picture that. So just divide whatever they say, divide that by 4, and that's how many teaspoons are in there. I got treats for Christmas. Our boys, we've got our youngest son lives in Boise, Idaho. And then our oldest son, he lives in Kansas City, and they came into town. So just because, and they eat healthy, they work out all the time. They're good. They're good. But when they came into town, we wanted to have some snacks here. and we found these little bitty caramels, dark caramel chocolates, about an inch by inch square. And we had a big tub of them. And we'd sit there and you'd eat a couple, and later on you'd go eat a couple more. And it's like, I didn't even want to look at the ingredients because I knew it was going to be bad. After they left and went back home, I actually took, anytime that happens when they go home or whatever, we take all the food, all the whatever stuff that we don't want in our house, we take it into work because people there will eat anything and everything.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And I went and I looked at the ingredient list because I took these chocolates into the work. And the next day I went into work and I saw them sitting out and I thought, I'm just wondering how much sugar was in that. And I turned around. In one little caramel square, there was 11 grams of sugar.
Oh, wow.
So divided by 4, that's almost 3 teaspoons of sugar in one little inch square.
Wow.
And you could down 6 of those easily.
Yeah.
So now you're sitting there thinking, I just ate 18 teaspoons of sugar in a course of about 5 minutes. I mean,
yeah,
people don't realize how they put sugar in everything. And it's so easy to figure out.
Oh, it's easy to go to the store and you look in the back, a label of anything, and everything's got sugar's one of those top few ingredients on there.
Isn't that crazy? Do you find you're looking at labels more now?
Oh yeah, a lot more. Just anytime we're even buying food, as we're walking through there, I'll be flipping it over, looking where that is, trying to see if it's something I'd want to eat or not.
Right. Isn't it crazy? They put vegetable seed oils and everything, and they put sugar and high fructose corn syrup in everything. It's all of it. And they tout, this bread, which any bread you get from a grocery store is Franken bread. That is not bread. That's not the way bread. It's not the way bread used to be. It's just the way the manufacturers have made it now. But even breads, they'll say, oh, this is a 12 whole grain, whole wheat bread and all that. And you turn it over. And some of those have, besides all the flour, which is pure glucose, all the flour it takes to make the bread in the first place, then they add an additional, sometimes up to 1 teaspoon extra of sugar in every single slice. And then they sit here and they tout that this is a healthy bread for you. And people have to realize we are being manipulated and they want your money. So you got to be smarter.
Well, and different versions of sugar, as far as sucralose and all those that they'll tout sugar-free, and you start digging or reading the label, and before you know it, pretty high on, you start seeing those words, and it's like, okay, there's sugar. It's just masked under something different.
Yeah, it's really crazy. So what is there anything that you didn't used to eat that you kind of eat more of now? Like what's your what's kind of an average nutrition plan for you now?
Usually if I eat breakfast, it's 3 or 4 eggs with some sausage or bacon. And that's about it for a morning if I do eat breakfast. And a lot of times it's, if I'm hungry in the morning when I get ready to leave the house to go to the office, I'll eat something. But if I'm not, I won't. Lunch, I try to hit as much protein as I can. Try to mix in some veggies or something just to make it give some flavor or texture, something different. So it's not just totally carnivore. And then at dinner, try to eat out kind of what we have or my wife's making for dinner. If we're having fajitas or Mexican, I'll usually just kind of do a version that's more of a bowl than anything, not really any of the tortillas or anything like that, or just try to eliminate some of that stuff. Whereas we can have some around the house. So if the kids want that for theirs, it's a kind of gives them a little bit of just normalcy to it, we feel, but it's but I just won't eat it myself.
Right. And that's really all it is. And it's usually not any major thing. It's just little, whatever you tend to love the most, that's the one you want to say, okay, how can I make this healthy? And just like you said, if you want tacos, just do a taco bowl, leave the shell off of it. You still have the hamburger. If you want to, there's we still do the refried beans. Some people don't. That's whatever you want to do. But we'll do the hamburger. We'll do the refried beans, the lettuce, tomato, everything else that's on there.
And most of that's just as good as having a taco.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And people don't realize it's just that little shell. Is that really going to hurt? Yes, it does. Because when you eat carbohydrates, that causes your pancreas to release insulin. And once your insulin levels go up, now you can't utilize the rest of the nutrients. All you can do is feed your fat, make your fat. They turn all the fructose, all the sugar, all that stuff into fat and store it. So even that little shell can make a difference. Just like the bun on a hamburger, get rid of it. The shell on that, get rid of it. Pasta. There's other things you can have for pasta. There's people who do, like we've done spaghetti squash. You take
My
a
wife does
fork
that a lot.
or zucchini.
I think it's actually better than spaghetti.
I do too. It has a better taste. Have you done the spiralized zucchini?
I think she has actually bought something similar to that. I don't know if it's that one or not, but she has brought some of those home for that.
Yeah, it's really good. And they have some noodles that are made out of kelp, or seaweed.
Yep.
There really are different ones, and they've got good flavor. It sounds like it'd be gross, but it's really not. And then you, again, go ahead and put your sauce on top of it. Just be careful what your ingredients are in your sauce also, because again, there's sugar in a lot of those also. But there really is a way to find whatever your favorite thing is. Just how can you make that a little more healthier? Even cauliflower crust instead of regular pizza crust. I mean, that's huge. When you get the cauliflower, it has fiber in it, it has water in it, it has all that. So there's only about 5 grams of carbs in that, to where if you compare that with a regular pizza, I think that has something like 35 or 50 grams of carbs. So there is, I mean, that's a huge.
Yeah, we get that a lot. And that's, we actually, my wife and I enjoy that actually more than normal pizza crust. We'll get the pizzas, we'll go to Hy-Vee or Eris, somewhere like that, and we'll order ones even for the kids in that, and we just won't tell them what it is, and they love it. They
can't tell the difference, can they?
Nope, exactly. And they just love the pizza, and they're like, cool, this is great. We had pizza.
That's right. The secret parent doing healthy things behind their kids' backs.
Exactly.
They'll learn.
Yep.
There was something else I was going to ask you. Let's see. We talked about what food you tend to eat, what you did now. Your exercising didn't really change, right? It got better, but as far as quantity or anything like that.
No, I probably go a little more than I did then. I probably went more of 3 days a week. Now I go 4 to 5, or try to work out 4 to 5. But I think that's just from seeing the results last year and starting to just motivating me more to, okay, I got here. Can I achieve this now? Can I get more tone or more whatever, just more, I guess, pride stuff or just seeing things like that. I just want to see if I can do it now to where so I push a little harder there.
Yeah. Have you noticed anything as far as like inflammation? Like, did you used to, when you get out of bed, it was you're kind of like, I guess this is me. Before I started eating healthy, I'd get out of bed in the mornings and it's like my ankles would hurt. I'd walk to bed, and my back was kind of hurting and you kind of had to stretch and kind of get everything ready.
Yep.
And I'd never even thought about it until my wife brought it up, like recently, like within this last month. I just jump out of bed and go. Is like, that's not even a thing anymore. I don't have those pains anymore.
I used to have horrible ankle pain and foot pain that I would fight it for years. I fought it and just, it was like bad plantar fasciitis or whatever. And it was it was always hard to find shoes. It was everything like that to try to get comfortable. And then I noticed a few months probably into this, whenever I started noticing some good weight loss, all of a sudden it was just gone. I would just walk around and it wasn't ever a thing anymore. It's rare that I have any foot pain now. It kind of blew my mind that it was tied to either, both what I was eating and my weight at that time, that I was just putting that much more pressure on my feet.
Oh yeah. I really don't think people realize how inflammatory like these vegetable and seed oils are that they put in everything. And I did a whole podcast just on how inflammatory these things are, and the sugar and the fructose, how those get turned into inflammatory mediators. So we're walking around totally inflamed. You can ask anybody, look at the, not drug studies, but look at the studies, and they talk about how everybody has an elevated, what's called CRP or C-reactive protein. And that's kind of the first side of inflammation. So if you have any inflammation going on, your CRP level is going to be increased. And I don't even remember what the last thing was. Somebody said, whatever, 80% of Americans are all walking around totally inflamed, but they go on. The drug companies will go, so you need an anti-inflammatory. Let's give you, a steroid. Let's give you this. Like, no, that is all symptomatic relief. You got to do this by cutting down what's causing it. And it is the sugar and the vegetable and seed oils. And that's the same thing with gout. Have you ever had any gout issues?
No, I have not.
I had a friend of mine that had really bad gout issues. Like for years, he had gout issues, and he was on all kinds of the allopurinol and colchicine that they're giving for gout. And he didn't like the way the medication made him feel anyway. And so I started talking to him about this also, because this was when I worked with him when I very first started learning about all this nutrition, which really, even though I went to college for 11 years, I didn't learn nutrition until about 3 years ago. It's crazy. But I told him about it, and he quit all his he would always come in and he'd always have a soda pop, and he always had some kind of bag of chips or something like that. And he cut all that out, and he was totally off his gout medication. And I honestly don't remember. I know it was within a year, but it was sooner than that. But he'd been on gout medication forever, and he was totally off of it. Doesn't have any more inflammations of it. And it's all because of the uric acid that, again, is propelled by these vegetable seed oils and fructose and all this other crud that people are eating. So that's what's weird is you think you're just doing this to lose weight. And then all of a sudden the weight comes off and you feel better, and you see your blood labs are getting better, and you start to have more energy, and you start to feel better about yourself. And have you noticed that? You feel like your moods kind of change a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
And a part of it may just be because you're proud of yourself for doing something. But I think I really do feel clear and feel, I don't know.
I would agree. I think I've always been a morning person that I can get up and go, but I feel like it's even clearer. I can just get up, go, and it's always the most productive time of the day for me. Is I usually get to the office about 6, and from 6 to 8, I can knock out more than I feel like a lot of people can between 8 and noon.
Right. And you're moving a lot in your business, right? Like you're not sitting behind a computer all day
anymore. I do more and more. I've got mid construction, and it's one but I've got project managers that handle a lot of the day to day on site, but still I'm out on job sites. I switched over to a standing desk so that I can stand up if I want, and I'll go back and forth all day long if I'm in the office, and stand up for a while, sit down. I've got a stool as well. I can switch to that. I can kind of change positions so I'm not just pulled up to a chair, sitting in front of a computer for 8 hours a day and not moving around. And then I try to drink enough water that I force myself to get up and go get more water, or have to go to the bathroom by just drinking enough water. So I do have to get up and move around enough.
Isn't it weird when you don't feel good? It feels great to just sit and do nothing. Just sit and watch television, just sit and do nothing. But when you start feeling good and you start getting this energy and you're nourishing your body and you're working out and you feel great, you don't want to sit. You've got energy. You want to get up and you want to move around. And it just, and then that goes into everything else. That goes into social. Now you're moving around. Now you visit more people. You're happier. You tend to attract happier people to you. It sounds stupid, but people's lives are totally changed. And it's not just because they lost weight. It's because they feel good and they exuberate that to other people, and they're all coming into it. They're bringing happy people around them and other people who are fit and eating the same way. And have you changed anybody's thoughts on nutrition or anything?
I've been trying to. I've shared your book with my dad and then one of my nieces, and I know my dad's read it. I keep trying to hint at him to hopefully take on some of that, because he's talked ever since my stepmom had passed away about, I need to lose weight. I need to lose weight. They used to always kind of go down that path together, and I think she helped push him to it.
Right.
But now he's talking about it. I'm like, here, Dad, read this book. Just start making some cuts and stuff like that, and you'll notice a change. And I think he's thinking about it or working his way there. I'm hoping he will sooner rather than later. And then my niece had seen the book at my dad's, and I just after he got done with it, I said, you should read this and just check it out. It's definitely good information.
Yeah. Now, do you have any ideas? Your dad on medications? He's on blood pressure medication?
Not
Statins?
blood pressure, if I remember right. No, actually, he might just be now going on some blood pressure medicine. He's
Yeah.
74 right now.
74. I was going to ask that. See, and that's the case. I mean, it's sad, but you really can't ask your doctor this. And this isn't the doctor's fault. They really don't know. I mean, all the studies and everything that they read and all the conferences they go to, it's all put out by the drug companies. I mean, drug companies, they're the ones who are telling all the doctors how to treat patients, or telling all the doctors what medications to use, whether they're good medications or not. You have no idea. I mean, you can't even see the exact data from their studies. You're not allowed to see that. That's the drug manufacturers I don't even know the term for it, but nobody's allowed to see all the actual data that they put together when they write their papers. But that'll be another podcast also. But what you find, because this isn't a diet, this is a lifestyle change. And it's not like you have to get ready to diet for the rest of your life. It's like, it really isn't a diet. Have you noticed that once you know what makes you feel great and you know what makes you feel bad, have you noticed that it just, you can't unknow that. You can't just start eating like crap again and having your weight go up again and have your labs and think, oh my gosh, this is just what happens when you get older, because now you've already taught yourself. Nope, it is because of your choices.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot to that for sure. And I noticed, like you were talking about them not knowing, I thought it was funny. I should have mentioned it earlier whenever we were talking about the labs, is whenever I had this second labs in September, the doctor had mentioned to me that he, with the correction in the cholesterol, that he's like, okay, so you cut out a lot of your red meat and milks and stuff like that. And I kind of just looked at him. I'm like, I kind of doubled down on it, and it did the right thing.
See, and that's wonderful. And really, really, I think that's what it's going to take. And I've said that in other podcasts, is people doing the change and then your physician seeing it. Because that's usually what happens is you go into physician, they look at your blood pressure, they look at your cholesterol, they look at your blood sugar, all this stuff. And they say, okay, we need to put you on medication. So you're like, no, don't want medication. Let me try it with nutrition. You do it with nutrition, come back in, and then they see how your labs have improved. That's how they're going to know, oh, wait a minute, maybe there is something here. And this whole thing about red meat, they got red meat causes diabetes, red meat causes gout, red meat causes all that. It's all lies. It's absolute lies. And these are all put out by the drug companies and food companies, because they are a business. They never, nowhere in their business model are they say, we're here to make people healthy. That's not it. We are here to sell more and more food, so our shareholders
be every commercial on TV if they're to do a good deed.
Isn't that crazy? Like back when I've only been a pharmacist for 35 years, and a little over 35 years. But back then, drug companies were not allowed to advertise on television.
Yeah.
Then they started allowing that to be on television, but they said, okay, you can say what the drug is, but you can't say what it's used for. Now they're saying, well, you can say what it is and what it's used for, but they have to say what the adverse effects are.
Yeah.
Which all medications have. Oh, you have no idea how many adverse effects, bad effects that these drugs have, because they fix one little symptom and they cause all this other issues.
Yeah.
So even when they do that on the commercials, this is legally, they have to say that for right now until they change something else.
Yeah.
But they don't even put all the adverse effects. They just put some. But if people would just shut their eyes when these drug commercials come on, just shut your eyes and listen to everything. And you're going to find that you can maybe take care of a little skin issue, but you could lose your liver, lose your kidneys, die, have strokes. I mean, all the drugs are this way.
Oh, yeah.
Which is
listen to just those adverse effects. Some are just really bad, or they'd be really embarrassing if it happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there are those too. And the deal thing, and even we're talking about skin issues, that's inflammation. Reason people have psoriasis, eczema, all these things, arthritis, this is all inflammation. And all these diseases have just skyrocketed since our new dietary guidelines came out in 77. Look at any disease state, cancer, all disease states have just skyrocketed since 77. And it's all because of inflammation. So again, it
Yep.
only makes sense. And so taking an anti-inflammatory, that is not that, again, that's symptomatic relief. To stop it, you got to quit eating vegetable and seed oils and fructose and sugar. That's
Yep.
what's causing all the inflammation. If you can do that, and I wish anybody on here, anybody who's listening, if you've had seborrhea, psoriasis, eczema, anything, arthritis, just try it for 1 month. For 1 month, try eating no processed food, no sugar, no flour, keep all that stuff
Oh
out.
yeah.
There's one guy that we follow, and he is a carnivore. He's a physician. He's I don't even remember where he's out of, but we've seen him talk in a lot of these conferences we go to. And what he tells people is just for 1 month, eat nothing but beef, butter, bacon, and eggs.
Yeah.
That's all for 1 month, beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. And that's their mantra. And we watched all these people that were in his tribe at these huge conferences, mainly the one in Austin is where I'm thinking about now. And lines of people coming up to the microphone saying, yes, I did this. I had arthritis. I said, my elbows hurt, my knees hurt, and it's all gone. Or I had psoriasis so bad that they didn't want to go outside because they were embarrassed, and it's all cleared up. And it wasn't by putting the more steroid creams and all this other drug company manufactured stuff on your skin. It's just healing it from the inside out.
Oh yeah.
And they are so happy. They are just, I mean, you could see them talk, and they were just so happy because they had this debilitating thing that they thought they're going to be on drugs the rest of their life, and found out, nope, they don't have to be.
Yeah. If I just eat different, it all goes away.
Yeah.
And you're healthier in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just feel good.
Yeah. Very true.
So I'm glad you're talking to other people about it too. Once I found out about this, I couldn't stay working at a hospital anymore. I mean, really, I felt like I am not doing anybody any good. You might sit here and manage their medications and make sure, if there are more adverse effects, you might switch to something else and all that. And once I was enlightened to all this and how so important nutrition is, and how nobody in the medical field, a lot of people in the medical field don't know anything about this, and they don't have time to teach people how to eat healthy. And there's so much, so many things out there that the drug companies and food companies put out telling people, no, keep doing what you're doing, but just use our product. That people get so confused. They don't realize the trillions of dollars that these companies put in on marketing and having people go out and, they even have them get on your website. I even had them get on my, one of my podcasts. I guess I must've said something about the best way to treat the disease we had, going around here. The only way, I was telling people the best way to treat this by far is give your body the nutrients it needs. It has been surviving for centuries.
Yeah.
Just by getting with the nutrients. It knows how to fight infections. It knows how to fight all these things as long as it has the nutrients. But the food companies, the drug companies are like, no, just keep eating the same stuff you're doing and take our medications. And once I realized that, it's like, I can't work in the hospital system anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Once I found out how important nutrition is and how this is the cause. It's not symptomatic relief. This is the cause of most of our diseases we have now is because of the food we eat. So that's why I retired. That is the main reason I retired. Is like, I can't keep this to myself. That's why I wrote the book. That's why we started this podcast. That's why we're getting a program together. That's why I'm going around giving talks all over, because I really want to get the word out to as many people that don't make this confusing. Don't go and look at all these things. I mean, was it confusing to you to try to figure out, well, what is healthy? I mean,
no, it was, the book obviously helped a lot because it was, you laid it out pretty well in there about what was good, what was bad, and all that. But otherwise it was pretty easy. It's just kind of look at the sugar on the ingredients, see once where it is. Hopefully it's just not on there.
Right.
At least if it's one of those last couple, it's like, okay, if I need to eat this, I'll be fine. But but then just trying to focus on the meats and all that. And I found that it's not any more expensive or harder to, or anything like that, because you're not buying as much.
Exactly.
Given I don't eat as much, I might, eat better when I eat, but it's when I'm not doing it as often. So in the end, the whole number in budget for food is about the same, but we're just making better choices in that, how to allocate that money.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is really queer or crazy. People say that, they talk about, oh, food is so expensive. It's just so expensive. And you look in their grocery carts and they have no food. If you think of food as nutrients for the body, so that means
Yeah.
you need your protein for the amino acids, you need your fat, and you need your fat for everything. You need your fat for energy, you need fat for your cholesterol, you need fat to be able to create all your cells, you need fat for everything, and then your micronutrients. If you just think of those, and then you look in somebody's grocery cart, nothing in there gives you any of that stuff. It's
Yeah.
all chips, cookies, crackers, frozen pizzas, frozen egg rolls, whatever, all this food manufacturer stuff.
Yeah.
That's why we say really the healthiest food, you won't even have an ingredient list. You don't have
Yeah.
to. It's meat doesn't have an ingredient list, fruits, vegetables, they don't have an ingredient list.
Which I have seen, though, one of those guys that does the carnivore, it might be the same one you're talking about. He had looked at some food at a store, some shrimp, like we were talking earlier, and on the ingredient list, there was an ingredient list and there was sugar in there.
Really?
That whomever was packaging it or whatever, somehow they had added sugar to this, and it was interesting. So it's one I do look at that if it's in a package at all, even
Yeah.
if it's like fish or something, I'll flip it over and make sure that it is just fish or shrimp or chicken,
Right.
whatever it is, that there's nothing anybody tried to make this taste better.
Right. Which I bet they did. And everybody look for two main things. There's a lot of things on the ingredients list that you need to stay away from, but look for anything that says vegetable or seed oils, or
Mhm.
anything that says sugar, high fructose corn syrup, anything that ends in OSE, OSE. They put that in everything. So if you just get in your head that if you pick up a package that doesn't have either vegetable seed oils or an OSE or, anything like sugar, you're going to find out that you are going to be shopping the perimeter. Because
Yeah.
if you're going down the aisles, everything is going to have that in there. So
Oh,
shop
yeah.
the perimeter where your deli is, your real meat, your butcher shop, your fruits, your vegetables. Shop the perimeter, get your meal, and get out.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because it really is neat for people to do that, just to go through grocery stores and see how much sugar and vegetable and seed oils they put in everything, and realize this is the basis of disease. That's why when you change your nutrients, you are not just treating all your disease symptomatically like you do with medication. That actually causes more adverse effects, or get more and more medication as time goes
Yeah.
on.
Oh, yeah.
Doing nutrition, and if you're talking about expenses, also, if you are on blood pressure medicine or blood glucose medicine or cholesterol medicine or really Alzheimer's medicine or antidepressants, anxiety, I mean, all these anti-inflammatories, all these things are just symptomatic relief. They are
Oh,
not
yeah.
curing. They do not cure anything.
Yeah.
So
And the expense
beware.
of those is huge. That
Exactly.
you add that into your food budget now, you could eat pretty good each night and
Yeah.
uh, enjoy everything better.
Yep. Yep. It's really crazy. I am so proud of you. I'm so glad you
Thank
came
you.
on here, because I seriously, I'm so proud of you. You did good. And I was really curious, to tell you the truth, because when we met, face to face, you look like you're in good shape. It's like,
Yeah.
you're in good shape. Yeah, if you want to start doing this, fine. I'd really be curious to see how well you do. And then
Yeah.
when you give me these post labs, I'm like, that is so amazing. That is so cool, because even though you work out all the time, you kind of thought about your nutrition a little bit, but didn't really realize how bad carbohydrates really were. You still improved your labs so well. And like we said, the way you were going, if you kept on going, those labs would have gotten worse.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
blood glucose
I
would
would
have
have been
gone
on a
up.
lot of meds,
Yeah.
but this
Yeah.
time, if I had not changed anything.
Yep. Yep. And now you're not, and you're going in the right direction. You just keep on doing what you're doing now, and it's not just the quantity of life. It's not like it's going to prolong your life, which it will. I definitely think it will. But the quality of life is so much better, because you have more energy, you have more
Yeah.
thought, more clarity of mind, more happiness around you. You know, you enjoy life better. You just do, you
Yeah,
know. And I think that's a
exactly.
part of nutrition that I think a lot of people don't really realize. They only look at like a diet, and I've got to get this weight off. It's like,
No, yeah,
there's
and it's not a diet at all. It's like you said earlier,
no,
it's just a way of this is the way I'm going to eat now, and I enjoy it. I like it. It's fun to just eat that way, or be able to go in there and have more steak or have more
yeah,
different things like that, and that's great. Can't go
yep.
wrong with that in my mind.
That's how I am too. Oh, I have to eat more steak? Darn.
Yeah,
Or
shucks.
hamburger or whatever, you know, depending
Yeah,
on what your budget is. It's just whatever. But you'll find that you can eat. It's not expensive, and especially when you cut out of medications, you know, like you said,
oh
that's
yeah.
great. But well, we've already been on here for an hour. Is there anything that you'd like to tell somebody that maybe was in your shoes that you might be able to, you know?
I would just definitely for I think anyone out there is I would especially if you're kind of like I was, we're in pretty good shape and all that it's a great way to go just to try and push it to that next level if it's when you're working out and you want to get better results out of it, or just you want to fend off the chances of that all those medications coming your way,
Yep.
because as we all get older it's inevitable. I've got friends that they don't eat this way, and you can see several of them that when we meet for a drink or something that they're talking about this med or that med, and it's like I'm talking about
Yeah.
ones that I dodged that one, and this one I'm actually off, and I
Yeah.
don't really go to the doctor unless I'm real sick, and that doesn't even happen that often, knock on wood.
Right. See, and you're only 46. Can you
Yeah,
imagine if you continue down that road? And that's what happens, because inevitably, when you're put on a medication, it will cause adverse effects, and you will get put on another medication. That's just the way it
yeah.
is. It's designed that way, you know, really.
And I'm sure a lot of those even make it harder to lose weight once you get on them
Yep.
or get a stack of them, that it's going to make it that much harder if you're trying just to lose weight, to actually get it to happen. If you change your diet or your way of eating altogether, you'll get there.
Right, right. And you'd be amazed at how quickly you really can get off this medication. So that's why,
Yeah.
if anybody's listening, if you really are on medication, you really want to do this, please make sure your physician knows, because especially if you're on blood pressure medicine, glucose medicine, anything like that, when you start eating healthy, those will improve. They will improve. And so you need your doctor, because if you are improving your blood pressure, you have hypertension, say you have high blood pressure, which is caused by the food you eat. It's caused by sugar. It's caused by vegetable and seed oils, the inflammation in our bodies, the glucose, insulin, you know, everything we've been talking about. But if you really do that and you start eating healthy, your blood pressure will come down, because you're not causing your blood pressure to go up. So if
Yeah.
you're on a medication for blood pressure, it can make your blood pressure go too low, and you could pass out, everything. So you've got to have your doctors, okay, let them know that you're wanting to do this with nutrition, but you don't want to start any medication now. Just
Yeah. Which
let
you
them
and I had
do labs.
talked about my blood pressure, that I had been on amlodipine for pre-hypertension for several years, and finally I'd actually just a week ago or so met with the doctor and told him my goal was this year I'm going to get off that, and he kind of saw some of the readings I had taken, and he agreed, and he's like, okay, let's do a 2-month long trial without it, just see once where things come in at and all that. And so it's in the corner now, not something I'm taking right now. So
You stopped taking it all together now?
yep, yep,
See, I wasn't even aware of that. That's awesome.
yep. That's just in the last week. So it was we kind of met after some other labs I'd had done on just kind of checking some other levels, and it was that was when I brought up to him, and he agreed just to take a trial on it. So I'll just keep testing it here in the next couple weeks once it's all out of my system, and then see once where things come in at. But I don't foresee anything much different.
Oh, I don't either. I mean, it is your nutrition that causes high blood pressure, so it only makes sense if
Yeah.
your nutrition is going to come down. That is so wonderful. I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
People, please listen. If you're on medications and you don't like to be on medications, there is an out, and it's just feed your body the nutrients it needs, and that is not man-made food. That is anti-nutrition. So, Jason, I thank you so much for coming on here and telling your story, and
Thank you for
hopefully this
having me.
encourages somebody else out there that is either on medications or they're on their way to becoming on medication. Let them know this can be done, and it's not hard, and you feel great doing it. That's how you know the difference between a diet and this is if you're dieting, like if you're doing what the food companies and drug companies are telling you to do, to lose weight, is to keep eating the same crud, but just eat less of it and get out there and exercise. It's your fault. You're lazy and you're a glutton.
Yeah.
Don't listen to that. Do not listen to that stuff. Eat healthy. Eat the way we've ate since the beginning of time. Eat God-made food, real meat, real fruit, real vegetables, and you'll be amazed at how great you feel.
Yep.
Jason,
I fully agree.
Thank you
for having me.
so much. Hey, no problem. And for everybody else, thank you so much for listening, and have a great week. And remember, make simple, healthy choices to live a quality life.